near parking lots, if there's the brush and the undergrowth and there's the habitat near parking lots, it seems to me like they always try to make a lookout, kind of like this, a place that's heavily concealed, guarded, where you're never really, no one's going to venture back here for any reason. They're not going to want to get in there, and where you can kind of monitor the comings and goings of people, because in my opinion, I speculate that Sasquatch are very concerned about what people are doing, since we are clearly their largest threat. And it's important to keep an eye on your threat, you know, constantly assess the threat. So I think that it's their business, it's their full-time job to monitor humans as much as possible, especially when they're down in these areas. So they create these complex tunnels and hallways and channels through the trees. They tie the forest together, they tie the bushes together, they put sticks everywhere so you can't go. Everything's blocked off and it becomes a gigantic maze that only they know. So it's really fascinating. And now finally it's starting to get dark, but we make our way to some stuff back up in the woods on the hill. Look at that, you have a couple little things there. I always like the little stuff. Obviously you have these branches piled up and the branches piled up there, okay? But then look at this weave, all the branches coming across. Look at that. Now, I don't think that's really big enough to be a shelter. That's a very strange shelter. Of course, it is under this gigantic tree. I don't really know. You know, when it comes to these lean-to looking things, I really can't speculate on what the point is. You know? Oh, is there a crazy? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay, go, Callie, go. Okay, so finally, oh my gosh. Wow, guys, so, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So what happens, we follow the subtle things, the little subtle things, and we find a gigantic igloo made of sticks. This is, oh my gosh, this is amazing. You find the subtle things and you get to these things. I've never been here. I had no idea this was here at all. These creatures never cease to amaze me. It's huge. That's the equivalent of, let's say, like a 6-man tent, I would say. Well, because it goes all the way down, see? Comes all the way over. This is a perfect example of what I call a wigwam. Gosh, that is beautiful. Do you see any cut marks or axe marks or anything? Look at these little things that they do. Those little details, those are the things that humans aren't going to spend the time. This is not what a human does. I've never seen a Boy Scout, and I would know because I've ran Boy Scout camps before. I've never seen a Boy Scout do this. I 100% doubt that a human built this. Absolutely. Absolutely. This was not built by a human, I'll just tell you right now, because everything's broken off. There's really big pieces here, guys. Really big pieces. That's a whole tree broken off. Look at that. That is just a sight to behold. Holy cow. This is the largest. I think this is the very largest wigwam I have ever seen. It's just stunningly huge. And it's immaculate. Look at the size of this log right there. Wow. Incredible weaving. See, if there's anything you should learn, and look, some of those are still alive. See, they're budding. They're budding. That must have just been added very recently. Some of them are still green even. That must have just been broken off really recently, but see, these are even blooming. That's a live thing that's been incorporated into there. is absolutely incredible. Wow. It has tiny little sticks, has live sticks, has everything in there, has stuff hanging off the ground. I mean, this is so far beyond anything that a Boy Scout would make, or even a Boy Scout troop. I mean, I have seen, I'm in Boy Scouts right now. I'm a Boy Scout leader right now, and I've been a professional scouter for years and years. And this, nobody makes this. Let me just tell you, nobody makes this at all. This would take like a college class to make this thing. It's so huge. You could sleep. Geez, I don't even know. You could sleep probably good 10 people in there easily. Sleeping this way. Their sleeping bags would go this way easily. Wow. Gosh, that's incredible. It's never disappointing to follow these subtle little things through the forest just to see what you find, because you're just always surprised. If you follow them for long enough and you just keep at it, eventually you'll just find these gold mines. I want you to appreciate this. Okay. Hopefully you can see that that's totally constructed. See, some of these branches are actually off the ground. This is totally constructed. This is a big igloo shelter thing right on the side of a park. Now, do I think that Sasquatch make these to sleep in them? No, I don't. I don't think they use these to live. I don't know why they build them, but what's the most convincing thing to me that this is Sasquatch related and not little kids is, and maybe it's I actually have a really cool theory that I'm going to share at the end of the video, but the most convincing thing to me is not actually the structure itself. It's all of the structures going that way. It's this hidden hallway stuff. There's a pile of bark over there, and that's near another structure. Okay? But usually, if you want to know if it's Sasquatch related, ask yourself, are there tree structures leading to it? Are there things that only Sasquatch do around it? Is it within a corridor? You know? And, you know, I'll just share my theory right now. And this is a really weird theory. Here it is. Could it be? We know that Sasquatch like to watch children. There's hundreds of accounts of them coming when they hear babies or children cry, or spying on playgrounds, or being seen near playgrounds, being seen by children. Lots and lots of children having sightings when they're very young. So is it possible, is it too far-fetched to say maybe some of these structures are made specifically so that children will come and play in them? I've never had that thought before until just recently, because I'm thinking, why are they making stuff in parks? Why are they building stuff in parks? And I mean, that might explain some of the stuff, because sometimes you do see like kids. In fact, at Wildman Park, I saw kids playing in a shelter that was way too big for them to have made. It had giant logs and everything. And I'm like, hey guys, you know, how long have you been playing this? Do you know who built this? And they're like, oh, it's always been here. But sometimes kids will like carry chairs in there. They'll start fires in there. They'll, you know, do whatever. They'll make it into a fort. Maybe that's something that the Sasquatch is going for. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Sky's the limit here, because we don't really understand a lot of this stuff. But guys, again, it's the tree structures leading to and from them, and the tree structures around them, and the bone piles, and the weird, crazy stuff that's around them, not in them per se. It's not the structure itself. It's just all the other circumstantial evidence. So maybe the Sasquatch are building those to watch the little kids play, because on the other side of the river is where the big stuff is, where there's a lot of stuff. This is more, like I said, this is more of a game trail than a human trail, even though it does actually look like a human path. the deer are so thick down in here. So you have a big branch broken off, leaning down here. You have all of this strange stuff tucked and woven, but you can kind of see how it's tucked around, and then on the inside there's a place, and there's a little flat place. You can even see the little flat place right here. And then this one's interesting because it kind of almost has like a chute coming out straight towards the trail, maybe for it to blast out and tackle the deer. Right now I'm near a dog park, and this is part of the green belt that's coming into the city from the mountains, from the canyon. And this here is new. So we can see that we got a root ball there. There's no, he has a basketball. Anyway, this is just interesting. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are 6 different branches. They're upside down, right side up. This little one's upside down. This bigger one's upside down. That biggest one is upside down, but then the other ones are right side up. And notice though, so now I sometimes I call these shelters just out of laziness. Obviously this isn't a shelter. It's just some sort of, you know, teepee. And it's a half teepee at that. I call these half-teepees, and I can't think of a better name for them. So there's half-teepees, but they're half teepees, and most of the time that I find these, they have like horizontal sticks woven into them. Not all the time, but notice also, what else can you notice about these? What's the difference between these trees here? Well, even this guy on the ground here. Okay, what's the difference between some of the stuff, some of the deadfall, and these guys? Do you notice that all the branches are snapped off? Most of these are smooth sticks. And also, do you notice that the bark is missing on almost all of them? There's a little bit of bark on this guy here. What does that mean? To me, that's significant. That has to mean something. Okay, now this here, you really can't argue that this is natural. You're gonna have to go with some weird funky kids or something made this. This entire thing, none of this, not a single thing in here has actually originated here. Not a single thing. You can see it's all a big triangle, and there's weird junction points at every corner of the triangle, which is kind of a common thing. And that's next to the bigger, you know, the tree leans and all that stuff. The big tree leans, and then obviously the stick leans. Okay, so I filmed this triangle looking thing. We talked about this. We talked about how there's stuff in the corners. I walked around and just kind of looked at stuff. We talked about this, but guess what? I stepped right past. Okay, this is just weird, and I don't understand. I literally have no idea. Well, I guess I just don't really understand any of this. I don't know what purpose it serves at all, but sticks are on the ground, no big deal. Nothing too crazy. This thing actually did call my attention though. Now let's just look at this for a second. Okay, what do you see? At first I just saw this weird looking whatever this is. I haven't seen something this small like this. This is just interesting to me. Anyway, but then I started looking at it for longer. I noticed that there's this deal, and I noticed that there is, and this may not be anything, I don't know, but there's a triangle there. But then, so after sitting here and staring at this, I didn't even notice this crap, whatever this is. Now what on earth is that? Look at that. What could that possibly mean? Now, I don't think anybody's going to be able to say that that's natural. But this is tiny, guys. This is, let me put my hand down. My hand is on the ground. That is tiny. Okay, so then I'm looking at this and I'm just like, what is going on? Then I started, this thing got my attention after I was done looking at that stuff. Now this is interesting to me because these sticks are lighter in color. All right, well, let me just give you an overview. Let's look at this. So we have these shed looking shapes. So these mountains here are mountains along in the Wasatch Mountain Range. This is called the Wasatch Front in Utah because it butts right up against the cities. All right. Most of Utah's population actually lives right east of the Salt Lake, right along these mountains. I've gone into so many areas, you know, Payson Canyon down here. I've gone to American Fork Canyon, which is super, there's just so much. I've gone into South Fork and Provo Canyon, and into all of these areas in Salt Lake. And then above, you know, I've gone into the Provo area, or I mean the Logan area and all this stuff. I just chose one particular area because it's so fascinating to me, the different behaviors and stuff exhibited in these areas. I think it's really kind of representative, I think, of Sasquatch behavior, or at least I hope it is. Okay, these green lines represent routes of travel. All of these little Bigfoots are places where I have personally gone and I've seen significant sign. The lines are places where I have either found corridors that are marked or I assume that that's where they're coming down, or based on, you know, what other people have found here in Utah. So I guess this really isn't just based on my findings, but, and then these sightings are a bunch of different reports that I've either gotten directly, you know, someone has emailed me directly privately, or they are from, this one's from YouTube, and there are a couple other ones that I've found out kind of through the grapevine. Or these yellow things are all sightings. Okay, then you have sightings over here in Uinta. This is the city called Uinta. This is South Weaver. South Weaver has a super rich history of Sasquatch sightings. And this strip right here, this strip of highway, it's called Highway 84, I believe, has a lot of sightings. These, again, these yellow things are sightings along this highway. And then even here in this area, there have been some sightings. Little girl saw, and this is a long time ago, but there's also been recent ones where children have seen it, but a little girl saw one standing in her backyard. There was one that someone mistook for homeless people right here. Anyway, there's lots of stuff. It's interesting too because there's a military base here, which creates basically a large area where there's no development. So along this side, if you can see, there's just continuous forest here. Now, the sightings start to begin as what I believe happens is that they start to cross right here, and somehow they make it over here. They probably kind of just stay up in this scrub oak, or maybe I have no idea what they do. Maybe they walk in the canal. I don't know what they do. But there's also sightings, or this one sighting here. And here there's significant stuff. A lot of very significant sign here. And then of course, you get into this area along the Weber River and there's really interesting, very cool stuff. I had no idea that this would make this much sense. I didn't know that I'd be able to draw such a clear distinction in where they were actually moving. But once I started plotting all this stuff, it became pretty clear where the corridors are. Very clear. And I just didn't expect it to be so obvious. And it's interesting just how kind of logical. I mean, it's almost like just tracking mountain lions or deer or anything. It's just, to me, this is the behavior of a living organism, flesh and blood, that is taking measures to survive during the winter and to hunt. You know, there's a lot of these places, like this area, for instance. There's a lot of these places where the deer come down literally by the hundreds during the winter. And especially this place. Holy crap. This golf course here. I mean, not only deer, but you have bobcats, mountain lion, the lynx, the minks, all of these animals. Everything, every animal you can imagine that's going to be up in the mountain, they come down here. And sure enough, there's definitely some Sasquatch stuff, which is a little bit more subtle, it's a little bit more strategic, but it's definitely there. I found a wigwam right here in this swamp. I think this might be like a bird refuge or something. It's surrounded by a fence, but look at the habitat. So obviously you have a big body of water. You have another big body of water. You have a swamp here. You have all little bodies of water again, right here and right here. And then you have a big gorge where, again, a bunch of animals come down to winter. And so this is a really ripe area. And this refuge place, it's within a private property, which is the golf course. And so there's limited traffic here. And then there's another fence right here that is also, you know, it's just interesting. All of these things, if you look at it, it's actually very reasonable. It's very logical why they would stay here, why they would come there. Now this map represents a whole year of me seeing what's happening in this area. I never envisioned it like this in my head until I started drawing it on Google Earth. And then I was like, oh my gosh, look at this. This makes incredible sense. For example, look at these sightings that took place along Highway 89. It's a little obvious where the crossing area is, right? I knew, I've heard ever since I was young actually, that there's been a lot of sightings along Highway 89, and there's been a lot of sightings in South Weber, in North Ogden, in North Fork area. You know, you kind of hear about these generalities. Oh, there's a lot of sightings. But when you actually get down to the specifics and start thinking, okay, where is the actual sign? What are the food sources? What are the movements like? Then it becomes kind of like, it's like demystifying something. It's not so mysterious anymore. You can see where obviously they're crossing, they're choosing to cross there, okay? Also, here you can see, look at that concentration. So you can see here that where the forest pretty much comes down to meet the road. So you have this forest from the mountain coming down to meet the road through this canyon and everything. It meets the road pretty much right here. And then immediately across the street from it is another very thick forest that can't be developed because it's unstable. It's on kind of eroding soil, and it's a huge hill, and because there's a huge hill, Air Force base up here. So there's pretty much nothing going on this hill, and that's where we start to get into sightings. Let me show you a really cool story. A guy was sleeping, one of my friends, and this is like one of my own friends that I didn't get this off BFRO or anything. These two sightings are from reports that have not been reported anywhere. The people that have just approached me and told me about this. So, see this? I think this is a trampoline. I think the trampoline used to be back here or something. Anyway, this wasn't even too long ago, but he was sleeping on this trampoline, and he woke up in the middle of the night, and he felt danger. He felt fear, and he peeked his head up over the edge of the trampoline, and he saw, hey guys, he saw standing by a tree a gigantic Sasquatch. I don't know what tree it was. I just put the marker right there, just in the general vicinity. Maybe it was one of these trees, but it was. He said it was absolutely monstrous. It was humongous. Then there was another sighting here. So that makes me think that they come through that field, which kind of makes sense because look, they don't want to go through a bunch of neighborhood and buildings. Why wouldn't they go through the path of least resistance so they can get to the Weber River? There's another sighting right there. Okay, there again, like I said, there are so many animals here. There's the wigwam here as well. Oh my gosh, there's some pretty incredible stuff. There's some stuff that's just so incredible, guys, that the locals and stuff, I've actually taken people back and shown them some of the things, okay? I'm not going to get too specific, but I've taken people back and I've shown them some of the things, and they say, oh, well, yeah, I mean, the kids. But the reason why it's not kids is because there's thousands of tiny little signs along these trails, little sticklings and small things, and asterisks and hanging, like something that they'll do is they'll hang a stick and then they'll hang a bunch of other sticks from that stick. So it's almost like a symbol that, hey, this is not natural. Like this definitely is intentional, but it's something that humans would never pick up on. And there's so many little signs, and the signs are continuous. This is the point. They're continuous across the highway and up. And I have gone and I have seen this with my own eyes. So kids are definitely not creating these really complex trails all through the mountains, all down. It's just way too complex and intricate. I mean, we're talking tens of thousands of signs and structures that are not just deadfall, leading all the way into these areas all around here. And they're intricate, and they're the same, 75 to 80 types of structures that you'll always see. Okay, they don't vary. Now this is just a tiny area. Let me tell you, I could have drawn the exact, actually even much more if I had gone right here. This entire area here, I could literally fill. There's so many sightings around here, it's just ridiculous. So I could fill up a lot of the city right here, and then up the backside of this entire mountain, this mountain range, I could fill so much. I could do the same thing for up here by, there it is, up here by Manaway. All up here, the back of Willard Peak, Black Mountain. It's just incredible, guys. I could do the same thing. I could fill up all sorts of signs and tracks all along Blacksmith Fork Canyon, and especially into Tony Grove, which is going to be like right here somewhere, something. Anyway, Tony Grove is around here somewhere, but I could completely fill that up as well. That place actually is just mind-blowing. Tony Grove is so amazing. I would spend pretty much all my research there, my time there, studying these things and investigating them. There's a whole lot right in just this one freaking canyon. And this one canyon, there's so much that happens. And there have been so many sightings here. I only thought that there were a couple until I really, really started meeting a lot of people, and people from Salt Lake started getting into my YouTube channel. There comes a point when there's no more human traffic, and then boom, you get up into just sheer wilderness. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is that I mean, look at this. American Fork Canyon is off the hook. I could absolutely fill this entire mountain. This is Timpanogos Peak. with trails and sign and footprints and sightings and everything. So here's the thing that makes me wonder. This is Payson Canyon here, it's just crazy. Here's the thing that makes me wonder about all this. I know that tree structures are really old. You know, you can't really tell when the Sasquatch are coming through most of the time. But sometimes they're brand new, and I've seen it happen. In fact, I've gone to places along the Weber River where one day there wasn't a tree structure there. That actually happened, right? I'll show you the exact area that happened. It is yeah, that's it. It's right here. There was a massive tree structure that did not exist. I came back the very next day. There was no storm, nothing, no rain, nothing. And an entire gigantic tree structure was there. And so Dr. Jeff Meldrum, and oh my gosh, like I respect him. I'm not saying I know more than him. He definitely knows way more than me about stuff. But he says that there's probably not even 5,000 Sasquatch in North America. And I think, well, how am I seeing so much activity? Footprints are going to degrade really quickly over time. They're going to decompose, crumble from weather conditions, from other animals. So it makes me wonder, how on earth am I finding all of these things in all of these areas if there's so few Sasquatch? Now, I'm not suggesting that Sasquatch are literally everywhere, okay? Look at this. I don't think that there are Sasquatch in these parks down here or in any of these areas. In fact, literally, look how specific it is. I don't think that they're everywhere at all. I think that there's just a few of them, and they're making a lot of structures. Just a few families or whatever. Maybe a family or a clan per segment. See, like, here's a little partition of this mountain range. Maybe there's a family there. Maybe there's a family here. Maybe there's a family here. I don't know. I have no idea how many there are, but it definitely seems that there are more than Dr. Meldrum would suggest. And that gets into the question of, like, well, how are they not eating the animal population alive? Well, I don't know. Maybe they eat way more. Maybe they're eat way more plants than we realize. Now, here's the other thing that makes me think that there's an actual Sasquatch near when I go out. I mean, this seems pretty, in my mind at least, pretty conclusive. That there are wood knocks. Okay, I'll even go out at like 1 in the morning and stuff into the mountains. How are there wood knocks and whistling and stuff? It can't always be somebody hoaxing me. And how can there be so, like, why would there be a Sasquatch where I am? Why wouldn't it be chilling over here in this canyon here? Why would it be exactly where I am? I just don't understand that. If there are so few of them. The population is like grossly underestimated. Again, they're not everywhere. They need specific conditions. They can't just survive, you know, just in any area. Look at this. They're specifically picking areas for very, very realistic, practical reasons. There's the deer, the food source, the water, the privacy, the cover and concealment. See, nothing at all about this indicates that these things have supernatural powers. Okay, so Mike and we came to this park that there's been a string of sightings at. People along here have had sightings, and there's one lady that had a Sasquatch looking in her window recently. And so we're just looking around. I'm not seeing any big squatchy. Look at this tree. Look at this ginormous tree sitting on the ground. Just sitting there, didn't grow there. Look at this. This is officially the largest tree line I've ever seen. It's incredible. Look at this tree just sitting there.
No way.
Yeah, it's just sitting there. That is incredibly large, and it's tucked. Look how much weight is leaning this way. Leaning. Oh yeah, look at all this.
Incredible.
Okay, so look at this giant igloo, this stick igloo. Huge inside. How big? I mean, we could have 3 guys, 4 guys sleep in there, nice and comfortable in sleeping bags. Look how all these branches come together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you have another. They do this. They build these little strange things. What it probably originally was just some stuff leaning over, which is natural. But what they do, as you can see, is they pile sticks on top. They weave them on top. They prop things up. You can see all the sticks woven in.
This is so incredible.
And also you can see up there, right there, that it's a twist back. The branch has been twisted and doubled back. Oh wow, there's some more stuff back there too. So this park is way more active than anybody knows, apparently. See, people contact me. They know that Utahns know that I'm into Sasquatch, so everyone contacts me with their story. Oh, look, here we go. and people aren't talking to each other about Sasquatch. They're not talking to each other about all the stories. And so everyone ends up being ignorant of their own neighbors and everything. Everyone believes in Sasquatch and no one wants to admit it to each other.
Stand down in here. Stand underneath this real quick.
Hey, why did I just hear? I just heard a potential wood knock over there.
Did you hear that? Wood break? Big. Probably back towards the bridge.
Do you think they'd be down this low during the day? That's crazy, man.
It's not a lot of activity during the day.
Look,
People are
this is
working,
broken.
school.
I'm on both sides.
Go underneath this so I can get scale.
Okay. I'm underneath it right now.
Nuts.
This is insane. This is incredible. Anyway, what I was saying is people don't talk to each other about Sasquatch, and so I end up getting all of these stories that are recent, or that are happening currently. People are contacting me and telling me about this, and they don't know that 5 other of their neighbors have contacted me as well. And I don't tell them because I respect people's wishes to be confidential or private or whatever. And so in this neighborhood, tons of people have told me about this stuff, and no one talks to each other, so everyone remains in ignorance about how active this park is.
This is their little, like a wallow.
I told you that this park would be freaking crazy, man. Look at this.
Notched in here upside down?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Look at this.
Yeah, I was looking at that while you were over there.
That's nuts. So you have a giant, look how big this is, because you have
enormous.
You have that wall over there, the entrance comes in. You have this huge area here, and it's all enclosed. And you have some giant logs like this one that people are not going to be able to lift up and drag.
I mean, it's on all sides.
Look at this. All of these are just set here. They're big logs.
It's
yeah, this is like
it's moments from residential neighborhoods.
Oh yeah, this is right. But see how thick it is? Even though we're next to residences,
You never know.
You never know. It's really thick. No one's going to see or know that you're here.
Yep.
Well, that's the thing too, is that half of the sightings that I'm getting from this park are from people when they were younger screwing around back here, and they have sightings of Sasquatch. All these people are seeing Sasquatch back here, not talking about it, so they don't know that it's still happening. They don't know that it's still active. And they just think, a lot of the people around here think that it was like an older phenomenon, because generally people don't want to disclose things until 30, 40 years after the fact. Wood knock. I just heard a wood knock.
Did you?
100%.
Turn off the camera.
Okay, I'm thinking that one is over in those trees across the farm thing right there. Why would there be a Sasquatch here right now? See, this is just bizarre to me. But he's gonna go check on that. It's funny, the secrecy that surrounds Sasquatch, the shame, the public shame. You know, people are so ashamed of admitting that they believe in something that's culturally so frowned on, so stupid, so taboo. And so no one talks to each other. And meanwhile, you have tons of all these experiences that are happening, and no one wants to be caught believing in Sasquatch. So they dump it all onto people like me, people that take it seriously. And I end up with some really cohesive information